Tilda, congratulations on the film.
Thank you, Martin.
It looks so much fun. Was it fun to make?
Yeah, it's that much fun. Yeah, we were really the lucky ones. And I hope that people in the audience are looking, thinking, that must have been fun, and we're doing it on behalf of everybody.
Completely. Put it into context for us. Who do you play? Because you play not one, but two people. And how do they fit into this story?
Well, everybody in the film really only exists because of Eddie Mannix and what they do to Eddie Mannix and how they make his life difficult or easy. And Eddie Mannix is the fixer, played by Josh Brolin, who runs the studio. He kind of, clears up all the mess, all the sort of unwanted pregnancies and, gay people who want to pass for straight and all of that kind of nonsense going on. Based, of course, on a real person who did much darker deeds and, managed to clear up people's murders of the night before and things like that, horrible things. And there is, the phenomenon of the gossip columnist, although they'd like to think of themselves as something different, based on Luella Parsons and Hedda Hopper, who were these warring gossip columnists in the Cultural Critics in the 50s. And they make his life hell because they're not only, one would be bad enough, but the fact is they're twins and he can't tell them apart, which is the joke. They're twins that are indistinguishable, and he makes one deal with one, and then the other comes around the corner, and he thinks he's made parlaying the same secret to the right person, and he isn't. They're a trip. My fantasy about them is that they're failed movie stars, and they're super bitter, and they really care more about one-upping each other than anything, and they will print anything to get more readers. Which is a tendency that we've heard about, which may or may not be fiction, in the world of journalism. But they make his life hell. What can I say?
They were interesting, those cultural commentators, shall we call them, at that time, because they had this sort of dual role, didn't they? They wanted to build people up.
Exactly.
And then
No, it is a really interesting collusion, particularly between those two roles, the gossip columnist and the Eddie Mannix person. Because Eddie Mannix is dictating what and with others, I think, in reality, there was a kind of much more committee, maybe the head of the studio would decide, this person, Dirk Bogarde, is going to be Spanish. I think they had a Spanish name all rolled out for him. And he's going to be Spanish, and we're going to make him a Spanish star by putting him in black leather trousers in this film. And this is how it's going to work. And of course, he's going to be straight, and maybe he's going to go out with these people and whatever. Whoever it was given their brief. And then Eddie Mannix's job was to sustain. He was sort of beyond PR. He was really a magician in terms of creating it. And then he had to protect that image from the Thackers of the world who would come in and try and see round the back of the circus tent and see really what was going on, and then they did deals. Presumably he would say, okay, we've got this young starlet, we want a puff piece, but for a puff piece, then you have to give them something.
Completely.
So, presumably it still goes on.
Well, I was
in the upper
that.
echelons.
Yeah.
How would I know? But I'm sure in the, in the world, some of my co-stars might know something about that.
It's a very affectionate look at that world as well, though, isn't it? And I wonder what kind of a challenge it was for the Coen brothers to make this, because they've got these films within films going on. They've got synchronized swimming.
Amazing.
They've got westerns.
Incredible. I know. It's really... truly, it was a delight. I think for every department was glowing on this film. The costume department, the sets, what an amazing idea. And what an amazing task to be able to, and for Roger Deakins to light in that way. It was a dream, and we all kept pinching ourselves because it really felt like it doesn't really get that good.
I think you said once, Tilda, that you choose. One of the big reasons why you choose a project is the filmmaker. Yeah. And I wondered, when you first worked with these guys, what was it about them that you were intrigued about?
I have always loved the way in which they make a world. Doesn't matter what the world is, they make it complete. And then they kind of set up this magnifying glass on this world. Whether it's the dude in Los Angeles and a rug, mad story. But you're in the dude's world. And and you're going to the bowling alley, and there's John Turturro, and then they take it up, the movie ends, and then they'll put it down in Washington, and there's, Burn After Reading, and that's another world, and then they'll pick it up, and then they'll put it down in Hollywood in the 50s. And I've always loved that capacity for filmmaking, to show you people behaving in a particular world. And I think they're masters at that. They're modern masters, and they remind me of, filmmakers that I worship, like Preston Sturges used to do the same thing. And of course they write so extraordinarily, because you read a Coen's script and you read the film, because you get a sense of what it's going to look like. You get a sense of how fast it's going to go. You get a sense of, just even in their sort of, their directions. They direct on the page. Yeah. I mean, they could. I mean, I don't know if one could make this experiment. They could give one of their scripts to somebody else and say, direct it, and it would end up looking like a Coen Brothers film. And I know that they've written other people's scripts, or they've done polishes and things, but I don't know whether they've ever done that exactly. I don't know whether they've ever given anybody else a script that they've really kind of directed on the page.
And on set, are there distinguished roles? Does one do one thing and the other do?
It's really fluid. Really fluid. I've worked with other filmmakers in pair. I worked once with very interesting filmmakers, David Siegel and Scott McGeehee, and they were the same. And I remember them saying, and I'm sure it's true of the Coens too, although they may disagree with me, but I remember David and Scott saying, by writing together, we've kind of unified as a voice. So once they get onto the set, it's completely fluid, because the script is the director in a way. And so then they just sort of, sometimes somebody's strumming a guitar in the background and someone else is more front. But they're very symbiotic, and of course they've been doing it for so long, it's just like falling off a log. Feels like it's falling off a log. I'm sure it isn't, but it looks that way.
Finally, it is a wonderfully affectionate look at that old Hollywood. And I'm sorry, I thought you were...
Oh, go on. Just one more.
I just wanted... Filmmaking still essentially stays this. Some of the things that have gone on may have changed, but it's still you guys in front of a camera and lights.
Yeah, it is. And I do think, I hope this film will be interesting to people who don't make movies, but for those of us who do, it's really thrilling, because all of that stuff is real. The mechanics of it is all still the same, and it's like, the film is about, to my mind, it's about ideology, and it's about faith, and it's about churches, and the circus of the movies is a kind of broad and high church, and all of us, not only those of us who make films, but those of us who love films, love watching films, we all kind of worship in that church, and it's it's a lovely opportunity to bow down.
Completely. Thanks, Tilda.
Thank you.